Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're heading straight into the flavorful heart of Memphis, but maybe not focusing on the food itself.
Right. We're looking behind the curtain, so to speak.
Exactly. We're plunging into the world of these incredibly resourceful folks who make it all happen, the cost-conscious food business owners.
Yeah, the independent cafe, the family caterer, maybe the food truck operator.
The home bakers even, all those small players. Our mission today, listener, is to really understand what drives them, their struggles, and, well, where they shop to keep things going.
And we've got some great material to work with. Detailed profiles, insights into who their customers are, and crucially, their biggest headaches.
Headaches voiced in their own words,
Right.
like that.
Plus, we know sort of where they stand on knowing about solutions, their journey trying to find supplies.
And how certain suppliers might really click with them based on their needs and, like, their core beliefs.
It's a pretty comprehensive picture of the engine room of the Memphis food scene, I think.
Yeah, definitely. So if you've ever, grabbed lunch from a local spot in Memphis and wondered about the story behind it, the effort, the ingenuity,
Maybe even the panic when the fridge breaks.
right, then this deep dive is for you. You told us you want insights fast, but thorough. You want those aha moments without feeling buried in data.
So we've boiled it down,
Mm.
the key stuff.
Okay, let's get into it then. Who exactly are these cost-conscious food business owners in Memphis? What's their day-to-day like?
Well, like you said, it's a varied bunch. Definitely the independent restaurants, those small neighborhood places.
The ones with real character?
Yeah. And the family-run caterers, doing weddings, parties.
Uh-huh. Food trucks, too. Always moving around.
For sure. And increasingly, these home-based food entrepreneurs,
Mm.
people building a business, maybe starting small, from their own kitchen.
So definitely not the big chains. We're talking local, small scale.
That's the key thread. Small operations,
Yeah.
often just a few employees, or sometimes it's literally just the owner doing everything.
Wearing all the hats.
Exactly. And that reality, well, it breeds a very pragmatic mindset. Frugal, often,
Mm.
because the food business,
Mm.
margins are just razor thin.
And failure rates can be high, unfortunately.
Sadly, yes. So they are hyper aware of every single dollar. Every
Yeah.
cent matters.
Makes total sense. It's survival. So what are their, main goals then? What drives their decisions?
It boils down to the basics, really.
Hmm.
Keep costs down, keep the kitchen running smoothly, and keep the customers happy so they come back.
Simple but essential.
Everything else kind of serves those three things.
And we have that quote, don't we? The one that really shows the pressure.
Oh, yeah. This one owner, small place, said, next thing you know, I'm looking at about $1,500. And that's a lot for me. I mean, I own a fairly small place.
Wow, yeah, $1,500 for a small operation, that's significant. You can feel the anxiety there.
Definitely. It really highlights those tight margins we were talking about.
So it's not just about being cheap. There are core beliefs shaping how they operate.
Absolutely. Resourcefulness is huge.
Mm-hmm.
A real belief in doing more with less. You see it in practice, hunting for used equipment, shopping around at multiple places for the best price, even fixing things themselves.
That make it work attitude, classic entrepreneur stuff.
It really is. And it affects how they view equipment, too. There's this feeling that sometimes an older machine, built solid, even used.
It's better than a cheap new one.
Yeah, exactly. Might be a smarter investment long term. Like one person said, they'd rather buy a used piece of higher-end domestic equipment before buying something imported.
Interesting. So it's about reliability, maybe? Less downtime.
That's a big part of it. Reliability and maybe easier repairs on those older workhorses. It's a long-term calculation, not just the upfront cost.
So quality does matter, but it's strategic. Finding the right quality for the right price.
Precisely. Quality is important, but always balanced against cost. And reliability of equipment and suppliers, it's super high on the list. Things just need to work, especially during busy times.
And what about convenience? We all value convenience, but how does it fit in for them?
It's nice to have, for sure, but honestly, it often takes a backseat to saving money.
Right.
They'll put in the extra time, the extra effort, drive further, do repairs, research used gear, if it means cutting costs significantly.
Makes sense. But the dream scenario.
The dream scenario is definitely that one-stop shop. A place with consistently low prices and a wide selection of everything they need.
That would save money and time.
Exactly. And time is incredibly precious when you're running a small food business.
Okay, great picture of who they are. Let's pivot to the crunch points. What are the biggest challenges, the things really keeping them up at night?
Yeah, the pain points. Number one, overwhelmingly, is the cost of supplies just soaring. coupled with those thin margins we keep mentioning.
Inflation's hit everyone, but for them, it must be incredibly tough.
It is. And it's not just numbers on a spreadsheet. There's real emotional stress. Owners talk about the anxiety of seeing staple ingredient prices just keep climbing.
Yeah, that quote about the $1,500 really sticks with you. It's the weight of it.
It is. And the fear, can I absorb this? Do I have to raise my prices and risk losing customers?
That's a tough spot.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So to cope, they're constantly comparison shopping, hitting multiple suppliers, sometimes just to save a couple of bucks on a case of something.
Like that food truck operator said.
Right. $2, $3 a case or sack are too much to ignore. It sounds small, but it adds up fast when you buy regularly.
The emotional toll sounds intense. Frustration, fear.
Yeah, exhaustion too. Just the relentless pressure to control every single cost.
That constant juggling must be draining.
Okay, what's the next big hurdle?
Sourcing affordable equipment, both new and used. It's a major challenge.
New commercial gear is expensive, I imagine.
Hugely expensive, often just out of reach for these smaller businesses, so naturally they look towards the used market.
Which seems smart, saves cash up front. But there are downsides.
Oh, definitely. The used market has its own set of problems. It's not always straightforward.
Well, finding what you need can be hit or miss. Quality varies wildly. And crucially, if it breaks down soon after you buy it, often you have zero recourse, no warranty.
Ouch. Risky.
Very risky. Sure, you hear success stories, like the guy who got a $200 convection oven that lasted 3 years.
That's amazing.
It is. But then you hear the other side, like the owner who said, yeah, used can be okay, but in my experience, the repairs are costly. They mentioned having to replace a $4,000 fridge prep unit they'd bought used. Suddenly, that initial saving doesn't look so good.
So it's a gamble. Excitement finding a deal versus the stress it might break.
Exactly. That constant worry about reliability, especially during a rush. Plus, just finding good used stuff locally takes time and effort.
And knowledge, too, probably. Knowing what to look for, what's a fair price.
For sure. And there's a sense sometimes that the sellers, the resellers kind of hold the cards. They know people need this stuff.
That power dynamic is interesting. Did we find any tips for them, though, on finding better used deals?
We did. Someone suggested checking out school cafeteria auctions. Apparently, you can find lightly used, good quality gear, sometimes for like a fifth of the original cost.
Wow, that's a great tip.
It is, but again, it takes time and know how to track down and navigate those auctions. It's not effortless.
Right. So equipment's a big headache. What else?
Suppliers. Dealing with unreliable or just inconvenient suppliers is another major frustration.
Okay, how so? Like the big distributors?
Yeah, the big guys, the broadline distributors.
Yeah.
Smaller independents often feel kind of pushed aside. They might have high order minimums that are tough for a small place to meet.
Or unfavorable contract terms.
Exactly. We heard about one small Memphis owner who actually got dropped by their distributor because their orders just weren't big enough.
That's rough. Leaves you scrambling.
Totally. And the alternatives, like wholesale clubs or even restaurant supply stores, they aren't always perfect either.
What are the issues there?
Things like membership fees, stock levels being inconsistent. You go for something specific, and it's not there. Prices aren't always great, sometimes even bad customer service.
We heard mixed things about Gordon Food Service, GFS, in Memphis specifically.
Yeah, GFS gets varied feedback. Some like that it's often open to the public, no membership needed, which is good for small or new businesses.
Right.
But others feel it doesn't quite have everything a full restaurant needs. Like one person said, Gordon's is good for a few things. But if you're stocking for a restaurant, you need to go to Restaurant Depot.
Which implies shopping multiple places again.
Exactly. Back to that juggling act.
And Restaurant Depot itself, popular, but sounds like it has its own issues.
Yeah, Restaurant Depot on Summer Ave.
Yeah.
Known for low prices, huge selection, big pluses, but it's members only.
Barrier number one.
Right. And the shopping experience itself, often described as chaotic.
Chaotic.
Yeah. One user literally called it the devil. Said inventory is unpredictable, hard to find stuff. It can be overwhelming.
So you save money, maybe, but pay for it in stress and time.
That's the trade-off, it seems. And even GFS, which is less chaotic, got dinged on price by some. One caterer felt their prices were out of touch, even the sale prices.
Oof. And poor service anywhere just adds insult to injury.
For sure. Small customers sometimes feel ignored. So you hear this real desire for a supplier who gets small businesses.
Yeah.
Wide selection, fair prices, easy access, good service.
The whole package.
Yeah. Because spending all that energy juggling different suppliers is just draining.
Okay, one last major pain point you mentioned was more subtle. Skepticism and trust.
Yeah, this is more about the mental load. Constantly evaluating deals. Can I trust this seller? Is this equipment really okay? Is this price too good to be true?
That constant internal questioning sounds
It
exhausting.
is. Emotional fatigue from navigating sales pitches, inconsistent quality,
Yeah.
weighing, a budget brand new item versus a used top-tier brand.
Tricky decisions with limited info.
Right. And that quote about maybe not saving much on the big stuff like appliances, that hints at the underlying skepticism.
And they develop strong opinions on brands based on
Oh,
experience.
yeah. Hobart for mixers or nothing,
Yeah.
or only buying refrigeration with a warranty. These strong beliefs form.
Which can be helpful, but also maybe limit options if they can't afford their preferred choice.
Exactly. Leads to that paralysis by analysis sometimes. They're hesitant to compromise, but struggling to afford the ideal.
So how do they build trust? What do they rely on?
Proof, validation. They really lean on testimonials, especially from people like them. They ask peers directly online, where do you buy used gear? Which sites or groups do you trust?
Seeking those trusted sources.
Yeah, because that doubt, that uncertainty, it's a constant low-level stress. It can even lead to a bit of cynicism, maybe even envy of bigger places that don't seem to have these same constraints.
Trust is clearly gold in this industry.
Absolutely critical. Earning that trust is non-negotiable if you want to serve this market.
Okay, so we know who they are, what keeps them up at night. Now let's talk about awareness. How aware are they of potential solutions? The sources break this down nicely.
Yeah, it's a useful spectrum. At one end, you have the completely unaware.
Meaning they don't even know specialized suppliers exist.
Pretty much. Maybe newer folks or home-based businesses used to just shopping retail. They feel the pain of high costs, but they don't know about, say, restaurant supply stores open to the public.
Their thinking is just, well, everything's expensive.
Right. We saw that example, remember, the person struggling with chopping tons of onions.
Oh yeah, until someone online mentioned GFS for pre-chopped.
Exactly. Before that simple tip, they were just dealing with it. Didn't know a solution was right there. Shows how one piece of info can change everything for someone at this stage.
Okay, next up, problem aware.
This is probably the biggest group. They know they have problems. Food costs a fortune. My equipment is breaking down. They're feeling the pain, voicing frustrations.
But they don't know the specific answers yet.
Not necessarily specific stores or services. You see them vending online, right?
Yeah.
My supplier bill keeps creeping up. It's killing me.
Or complaining about their current option, like that I hate Restaurant Depot comment.
Exactly. They hate the current situation, but haven't landed on a better alternative. They ask broad questions like, how do other small places save on supplies? They're actively looking.
Got it. Then solution aware.
Okay, now they know some potential solutions exist. Used equipment is an option. They've heard of Restaurant Depot, maybe GFS auctions, maybe even co-ops.
But maybe not specific local players yet. And still skeptical.
Right. They might not know about our hypothetical lit supply yet. And yeah, definitely still evaluating which option is best. Can I trust it?
So they start comparing, asking for advice.
Exactly. More specific questions now. What's the most cost-effective way to buy an oven? Should I get a quote or buy it myself?
Or sharing tips they've heard, like the school auction idea.
Yeah. Or comparing features. Is GFS good for produce? Restaurant Depot versus Sam's for meat. What do you guys think? Still cautious, though. Not fully convinced any one thing is the magic bullet.
Okay, moving along. Product aware. Now they know specific stores.
Yes. They've heard of specific places, like our lit restaurant supply. Maybe they saw an ad or a friend mentioned it. They know it exists.
But haven't necessarily tried it yet.
Maybe not. Or maybe just once. There's often hope mixed with caution. Could this be the answer? They start looking for reviews, asking their network specifically about that store.
Like, does Lit Supply have good prices on X compared to Y? Seeking validation?
Exactly. They need reassurance it's worth their time. And then you see feedback after someone has tried it, like that positive post. They sell in bulk, reasonable prices, recommend.
That peer review is powerful.
Very. Or they might give a balanced take. GFS is competitive here, but Restaurant Depot is better for that. And they ask practical questions. Do they take credit cards?
Right.
Are their used fridges any good? Shows they're seriously considering it.
And finally, the most aware.
These are the loyal customers. They found a supplier they like and trust, and they stick with it. They're not questioning if they should shop there, but when and what to buy.
They sound like advocates.
Often, yeah. They'll say things like, I swing by Lit Supply every Monday for produce and paper goods save me so much. It's part of their routine.
Like that super enthusiastic GFS quote.
Huh, yeah. Unknown to me until today. I'll be shopping there until I die.
Yeah.
That's commitment.
Or the one calling their local cash and carry a lifeline.
Right. Outfitted our whole kitchen, get all our seasonings. Don't know how we'd survive without it. That deep reliance signifies they're fully bought in.
That awareness spectrum is really helpful. Okay, let's dig into the why behind their choices. Belief systems, influences.
Yeah, understanding their core beliefs is crucial.
Yeah.
A huge one is smart spending is survival. It's not just about being thrifty. It's fundamental to staying afloat.
And they take pride in finding value.
Definitely. Like that owner who pointed out that sometimes the cheaper white label brands work just fine, maybe even better than fancy ones. It's about smart value, not just low price.
Makes sense. What else?
Quality matters, but only up to a point. They need good stuff, reliable stuff, but they're looking for that sweet spot where quality meets affordability.
Like the preference for a used Hobart mixer over a new cheap one.
Exactly. Prioritizing durable quality, even if it's secondhand, over something new but flimsy. It's about long-term value again.
What other beliefs shape their actions?
Independence and control are big ones. Many started their own business to be their own boss.
So they might resist things that tie them down.
Yeah, like long contracts, memberships sometimes. They often prefer owning equipment outright, even if used, rather than leasing, like that pizzeria owner wanting to own all his own tools. Total self-reliance.
That resonates. Anything else?
Community and word of mouth. Huge influence. They trust what other owners say way more than ads.
Like the GFS recommendations spreading online.
Precisely. It's that informal network. And finally, maybe a prepared for the worst mentality. They've seen things go wrong, so they tend to be cautious, have backups, avoid overcommitting.
So given those beliefs, who do they actually listen to? Who influences them?
Peers, first and foremost.
Mm-hmm.
Other owners who get it. Local experts or mentors can be influential too.
Cool.
Relatable reviews and testimonials matter. Less so family and friends, unless they're also in the business. And ultimately, their own past experiences, good and bad, are huge drivers.
And what are the typical objections they might have to trying something new?
We've hit on these, but yeah. Fear used equipment will break. Believe they can find it cheaper somewhere else. Random, like Craigslist. Questioning the quality of unfamiliar products.
That too good to be true, skepticism.
Right. And just inertia. I already go to Restaurant Depot. Why switch? Even if they complain about it sometimes.
So what overcomes that? What proof do they need?
Tangible stuff. Real testimonials from people like them. Clear price comparisons, seeing the products themselves. Fair guarantees and return policies to lower the risk.
Evidence the supplier is stable, reliable.
Yeah, and transparency, no hidden fees.
Yeah.
And honestly, that emotional connection, feeling understood and valued, not just like another transaction.
Trust and value again and again. Absolutely key.
Totally. So knowing all this, let's think competitively. How could a place like our Lit Restaurant Supply stand out against GFS and Restaurant Depot in Memphis?
Price is obviously huge. How do you compete there?
Well, Restaurant Depot seen as cheap, but GFS may be less so now. So consistently hitting low prices on key items is vital. Maybe even show direct comparisons.
And the used equipment angle.
Yeah, it's a huge price differentiator. Plus, shouting about no membership fee directly contrasts with Restaurant Depot. Big selling points on cost.
Okay, what about the shopping experience? Restaurant Depot sounds rough.
Massive opportunity there. Focus on clean, organized, easy-to-navigate stores with helpful staff. That directly tackles the chaos complaint about RD.
And maybe better than GFS too.
Potentially. Aim for GFS's accessibility, but with maybe even better service and a broader, more restaurant-focused selection.
And that used equipment offering is unique, right? Neither GFS nor RD really do that.
Not really for heavy equipment, no. That's a distinct advantage. Offering inspected, reliable used gear makes you a more complete solution, especially for startups or those on tight budgets. Saves time and money.
Does being local matter in Memphis?
It often does. Memphis has strong local pride. If Lit Supply is Memphis-based, emphasizing those local roots, that understanding of the local scene, can build trust and connection compared to national chains.
Okay, so thinking specifically about GFS, what frustrations could Lit address?
The main one seems to be selection. People say GFS is okay for basics, but not a full restaurant stock. So Lit needs to hammer home its comprehensive range, truly one-stop shopping.
Fewer trips needed.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And maybe better hours or delivery options could also be an edge over GFS.
And for Restaurant Depot, beyond the chaos and membership.
Payment limitations are sometimes mentioned for RD, maybe cash debit only, or limited credit cards. Accepting all major cards is a simple convenience win. And if Lit could offer multiple locations versus RD's one, that boosts accessibility across the city.
Mm.
Plus, just consistently having things in stock addresses that wacky inventory complained about RD.
So basically, find the competitors' negatives and make them your positives.
That's the core idea. No membership, personal service, unique used equipment offering, local focus, maybe a community feel. Position yourself as the best of both worlds, GFS's ease plus RD's range price, but better plus unique value.
Designed for the Memphis owner.
Exactly.
This has been incredibly illuminating. So let's wrap up. Key takeaways for the listener.
I'd say these Memphis food entrepreneurs are driven by necessity. They value resourcefulness, quality for price, and independence. Trust, especially peer trust, is huge.
Yeah, and their big struggle.
Managing soaring costs, finding affordable and reliable equipment, and dealing with inconvenient or frustrating suppliers. That's the trifecta.
Hopefully everyone listening now has a much clearer picture of what goes on behind the scenes at their favorite local spots.
Yeah, next time you grab that amazing barbecue or coffee, maybe think about the owner, juggling suppliers, hunting for a used mixer, making tough pricing calls.
It adds appreciation for sure. They're passionate people working incredibly hard under pressure.
Absolutely. They're the backbone of that vibrant Memphis food scene.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? In a city built on these independent operators, how could we, maybe as a community, better support them? Could local solutions help ease those cost and access issues?
Interesting thought. Things like more local co-ops, equipment sharing libraries maybe, could be ways to strengthen that foundation even further.
Definitely food for thought. Well, thanks for joining us for this deep dive.